da 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 da. Oh yeah, yeah. My dog, my dog, my dog.
Hi, welcome back to the show. In this particular instance, Mike, you're still here with me, correct?
Am I?
Yeah, he's here.
Hello?
he can
Mother!
he can hear me, he just can't see me apparently.
Who am I? Why am I here?
Don't worry, tomorrow
This isn't
we'll
a
get you started on we'll get you started on the diapers.
This isn't a metaphysical final. Don't look into soul of the person sitting next to you.
Who are you and why are you talking?
That's an excellent question. This here is Casey Khoury, who we've known for a while, and we had told a little bit about him in the previous podcast, and now we'll delve a little bit more into him and let him do most of it himself. However, I happen to hasten to add one story by way of an introduction that about a month or so ago we were all hanging out, and it was declared that it is the right thing to do to shave all cats. So, welcome, Mr. Cat Shaver, and my first question for you
I don't
is, have you
shave
shaved any
cats.
cats lately?
No, I don't. The reference to that was Brenda had asked me to hold down her cat Priscilla while she shaved her.
To which I had apparently replied, well, that's nice, Casey. You're going to help Brenda shave her pussy.
Oh, wow.
So, now that we all have disturbing images in our heads, how did we all meet?
A place called...
I thought you were going to start singing somewhere over the rainbow. What the hell happened?
Second start of the
Maybe it
ride,
was
straight
there.
on to morning. It was in Never Neverland.
Rockets, red glare.
Let's not mention rockets.
Especially red ones.
The purple head of Cairo. Let's get going here.
Oh.
As opposed to the purple rose of Cairo.
Let's, alright, well, let's see. I've already discussed how Nate and I...
We already dissected how we met. How did you and I meet? Let's start there. Do you
Okay.
remember?
I met Nathan, I believe that was my second year at BC. And it was, trying to think here.
Don't hurt yourself.
We don't have to be exact on the dates. I mean,
Right.
you
I'm
can't
not sure.
estimate.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know.
I'll tell you where I remember meeting you was at the school building new student orientation.
Oh, yes, that's right. I did make a habit of welcoming in new students.
Did you scare any off?
Yeah, but we'll never hear from them again. Don't forget, you have to remember this was back in the days when it was the style to wear skirts over pants.
Oh, alright.
And apparently bandanas was the end at that point as well. Then it became French berets as well.
Anyhow, so that's how I met Nathan. During orientation, he was in orientation and I was welcoming new students. And then Michael, If I'm not mistaken, I think that was in the computer lab.
Was
Never really
I
had any classes with you, so
was I ranting and raving about something? Probably.
yes, yeah.
What was
Don't ask
it?
silly questions. You
I
know
don't,
the answer.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but
Politics.
it was on the long line of politics. It was on the line of politics.
Okay, so I went on one of these rants, and you overheard the rant, and you responded, or I don't know. Yeah, my recollection when I met you, Casey, at school is foggy. I don't know. It may have been around the time that that Nate and I had a class together.
I think it was because I was hanging out with Casey. I think I come into the computer lab to print something or other that I needed to print, and I think it was for or what's his class there. and Casey was with me, and I think you were ranting about politics, and I think Casey overheard something that he disagreed with, and that started the beginning of the end of the debates.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was probably around that time. So we're talking like spring of 2008. So, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. And as stated, you and I met each other. It was your second year, my first orientation. Do you remember what I was doing at that point? Because that was kind of funny too, I think. Do you remember what that was?
No.
Okay, I had to remember as part of student orientation, they made you get up and say who you were and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, in my case, I got up and not only said who I was, but I blatantly told the camera guy to put his camera back where he found it. Because I didn't want my picture taken. And proceeded to do 10 minutes of stand-up.
Nice.
Including walking into a roll. I remember that because I still have the bruise.
And a cat by
it's
the name.
in my wallet.
And a cat by the name of Tom, I believe his name was working at Burlington College. He was he did worked on the website, but he was also unofficially the school photographer.
He was the one that gave the mascot her first photo op.
Oh, yes, indeed.
You know,
you're not going to be able to go on from that, I'm afraid.
No, I can't actually. Yeah, Robert Williams joke just came into my head. Remember the movie they did, Patch Adams?
Yes.
Yeah, do you know that it was spoofed in porn?
No.
Yeah, it's called Snatch Adams. It's a clown with a strap on.
Oh. Oh, we have definitely reached the R rating.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I promised an R. Here we are. Anyway, so that's how we all met. And not the clown with the strap on, but...
Oh, God.
But what we said prior to that.
Yeah, disregard the last 5 minutes.
Cut out, Mick. So we as we figured out, have a flourish for doing comedy. If you hear knuckles cracking, that's me. I have more cracks in me than a Rice Krispies treat. Starting Monday, I'm applying for a job doing their sound effects.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Anyway, so that's it. As we all have flares for comedy and whatnot, and so forth and so on. We did a few, shall we say, disabled shows. One of which was the LD show. Um, so I guess, do we want to spout off about that? Who remembers what? I mean, I I go into something else on one of the other, or a few of the other podcasts about them. So I shouldn't really be talking. So you guys.
Sure, sure. Well, I
Okay.
I appeared in the show as a performer. Lip synced a song.
Every Street's a Boulevard.
Delivered a few lines of dialogue. One of which I botched horribly in the rehearsal. Something about a hairy English ass. And although we should have had that recorded, the rehearsal was, at least for me, funnier, and I delivered better material in the rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, for the most part, I was behind the scenes, behind the curtain during the show, trying to direct the motley crew of actors who were back there to get out at the right time. Sometimes they'd step out before they were called, and they didn't.
Tom Khoury, yeah.
They didn't seem to understand anything about timing. So no, but I had a good time. It was fun for me. But then again, I wasn't in the audience.
Ooh, ouch. As the guy that wrote and directed, how dare you?
Oh, what do you remember, Casey? Dutch tilt.
No, that's the third item on this bullet point.
No, I remember, a few of the skits. I remember the songs. I remember, I remember going back to the beginning, of course. I remember Nathan being introduced and coming out into the audience, shaking hands and stuff like that, He didn't attempt any of those things where he'd actually sit down next to someone, but...
Yeah, the one I would have sat down next to, I wanted to throw into the oncoming traffic.
And then, what else did you do with the show, though? You weren't just an audience member. You had
I was
a role,
filming it.
right? Yeah.
And then he went back on stage and did his opening shtick.
Shtick, yeah.
Shtick.
And he had a few. There's a number of funny skits he did at a college one.
Junior Goes to College.
Junior Goes to College with Dylan Pudiak as the dean, and
What's my line? What's my line?
Dylan had a great one-liner during the thing, and you can see it on the tape because it is on the internet. So.
And then there's some musical acts, and of course our friend George Boland did the surrounding music.
Yes, absolutely. Tremendous.
And the intro trumpet, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he played the trombone for most of the evening, but
Yeah.
outstanding.
He was excellent, and I wish him luck with his endeavors as far as
he
continuing success with the.
Yeah, he does play music on Sundays at the in Williston at the Monkey. No, not the tavern. Something tavern.
The Monkey Tavern.
Monkey Tavern.
So you were right before.
It's not Monkey Tavern, but it's no, it's
A man in his minky.
There's a monkey involved.
And he's not playing the trombone.
Get your hands off me, damn dirty ape.
That's what she said.
Monty's Tavern. It's Monty's Tavern in Williston. He plays there on Sundays. The rest of the people that accompany him are different from week to week. He's the only fixture there. And I've been a couple times, and it's been quite good.
I'm sure it is. I should explain to Khoury the erratic laugh. Mike just said very quietly, to the best that he could, "Hey, get your hands off me, you damn dirty ape." When we were talking about the wrong names for the tavern. And I said, "That's what she said."
Yeah, so that's
And
Sunday's.
this is the result.
The correct name is Monty's Brick Tavern in Williston.
There's no monkey.
No.
Oh, all right.
Remember, no spanking. Back to that R rating.
Yeah. What do we have to do to get NC-17? I don't think I want to know.
Drop your pants, fire a rocket.
Oh.
Little Rickos. Actually, I don't want to say Little Rickos. I'm happy enough to say the old one.
Big Rickles is enough for me.
Yeah. Well, anything Rickles is enough for me. I don't want to know about the girth.
Oh. Oh, Lord.
Or as he calls it, spider.
Oh, wow.
Now I've exposed his dirty little secret. That's what she said. Or did. So we go way off base. So yes, Roland plays at what tavern was it again?
That's Monty's Brick Tavern in Williston.
Right on. So that was the LD show. And then we all worked on the ill-fated BCP, better known as Burlington College Presents, which Mike and I introduced in the last episode as being an idea of students displaying their work to help promote the college, and them. It was free promotional material, but no nuts that didn't. So anyway,
Originally spearheaded by Alan Nichols.
Right.
Yes, we mentioned that.
Yeah. And we alluded to the fact that it was canceled, which it was, unjustly, which leads into several civil rights violations for the three of us. That's a whole other podcast in and of itself, which you'll hear on another one, so I don't want to go too much into that, other than to say we all have diagnosed learning disabilities, and that's how it becomes civil rights violations for the three of us. If everybody feels comfortable, would be willing to share what those disabilities are, and then we'll share our memories of working on that show.
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I was certainly diagnosed with ADD, but
You've been able to.
yeah, I would say that although certainly concentrating on things is still difficult, I have what I call the curse of 1,000 thoughts, which is typically it's hard for me to focus on anything because. Even as we speak right now, I'm thinking about multiple things at once, so it's hard to focus. But yeah, I think I've done fairly well, despite the fact that I was diagnosed young and treated when I was younger. And I'm sure if I went to any sort of observation at this point, they didn't have ADHD at that point, or they hadn't created a term for it. Maybe.
So you think you might fit into ADHD now?
I think it's certainly possible. Yeah.
Okay. As I have stated on other podcasts, and during that lecture, I have NOD, nonverbal learning disability. And that leaves you, sir. How about you?
Well, my learning disability is there's the nonverbal part of it. I mean, it's a nonverbal learning disability on the extremely too long spectrum of autism known as Asperger's. That's mine. It's more on the higher end, and the lower, and we won't get to the lower
Yeah, and nobody's bothered to try to break that list down into their own sections yet, although they really should. But each disability has their own spectrum, oddly enough.
That's true.
So that leads into memories of the canceled or ill-fated program.
Yeah.
Now Mike and I had said that we had done a show called Bird to College Presents, and we had it, pretty well under control for what we could do. We had done 6 episodes. To be specific, we had 2 with the Director of Student Services, Sarah Email. We had one with Dylan Podiak. I was a guest for one with Mike hosting. Casey was a guest with Mike co-hosting, and I was a co-host / guest on that. And the other one was you, Mike, with me hosting, and then there was, so that was what we had done.
Mm-hmm.
And we had one other person sign up, so we could have done that one.
Right.
But we're unjustly canceled, which gets into civil rights violations. Now, prior to that, we had done a season, we being Alan Nichols and myself, had done a season's worth, which were 3 episodes. The first season, and it was Ashley the Rose, photography, the short films of Anthony Green, film student, obviously. And he dated the head of the film department's daughter, for the record. And there was another one with Mac Finley and Mary Vidham called simply Poetry, because they were both poets for the purposes of that, although Mary also got into audio mixing and painting, which she was extremely talented at.
Yes.
And she also had a beautiful singing voice, which I hope to God she gets over her fear of singing in public, because she'd be really good at it. So that said, that was the first season. Pretty much all my memories of it are in the show, except in the episodes themselves, except to say that prior to taping those 3 episodes back to back in one day, I had laryngitis. And so I had just recovered from laryngitis like the day before we went to go record those. And then when we went to go record, my eyes gave out during the first episode. So the entire first episode, I couldn't see anything. So I was hosting blind. So if you saw me looking long and hard at notes, which you probably did if you sat through the episodes, that's why. So I'll joke about it now, but it scared the hell out of me at the time. But anyway, that was that. And then the only other thing that I remember is when I looked up and I went to go ask Ashley LaRose the first question, my mind went blank, and that's why you see me stumble a lot through that interview. And I'm cracking jokes I wouldn't otherwise be cracking, other than the fact that, I was at a loss for anything else to say that was intelligent. And I'll readily admit that. I'm probably one of the few, but I'll readily admit it. So those are my memories of season 1. Season 2, Mike, I remember going and saying to you, I need to find a replacement for Alan Nichols. Would you be interested? And you said, of course. But it depends on what it entails and stuff. So I said, well, come on, let's go take a trip to Alan's office and chit-chat about it. And do you remember what happened there?
Well, I remember Alan being all for the idea of passing the baton, as it were. So he was in favor, strongly in favor of keeping the show going, even without his supervision. So the the idea is that Alan, again, who has a long list of working in high profile productions, was in full support of the program, even as he was planning to leave. So we had the support of someone who who had the experience and the knowledge of the program and knew exactly how it should operate. So I was fairly confident that if we had Alan's signature, that was going to be good enough.
Right. Well, I mean, to be fair, I had gone prior to that
Mhm.
when he was saying that he wanted to turn the reins over, and right before I had said, well, let me go find Mike,
Mm-hmm.
I had gone to Barry Snyder, the head of the film department, who you'll hear more about in other podcasts, and same thing with Art Hessler, better known as Hess for shorthand. Um, and you'll hear why on other ones. And I'm sure you'll come to the same conclusion that I did. So I had gone to them and the director of student services, Sarah Mel, and my advisor, and I had said, this is what's going on. Are we all okay with this? And they had all signed off on it. So they reneged later on, but anyway, that's getting ahead of the story. So I had gone to them and said, well, is this okay? And they said, yeah. And then I gone to you, and we've gone in, and Alan, they said, was all gung ho about it. So he signed off on it, and pick up from there.
Yeah, and I think we discussed earlier one of the more difficult things was tracking down guests who would actually be able to show up when we needed them to show up. Part of my job, I think, as co-producer was to try to acquire or try to round up some folks who might be interested. And it was very difficult because I actually had a few who said yes, I'd be interested in doing it, but I can't do it now. I can put it off till later.
And then that later never came, or they bullshit their way out of it later.
Right.
Yeah, the reality was that if given enough time, I think that we could have maybe convinced somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 students total, counting the few that we did have.
I remember that,
I think that the program certainly had the potential to have a long lifespan. It was just a matter of, at the beginning, just getting a few guests.
Right.
And I thought,
I remember you doing that, and, and I helped you somehow with that. The thing that I... of the process that I found I'd say a little frustrating. I mean, not too much, but just the fact that I kept, I would find people that would be interested, but then I had found myself over and over again explaining the whole premise of it. And
well, yeah, because people are incredulous, and it's like you can hand them a slip of paper and say, yeah, these are the websites, go check it out. But there's only so much that's going to do because they have to be willing to do that, and the majority of people are just freaking lazy.
It's true. It's true. In fact, I would think the majority of the folks I talked to were non-committal because there was nothing really in it for them, although I kept pitching the idea, hey, this is a chance to show off what you've been working on. Yeah. This is a chance to create something that would be great for your resume. Look, I have this on video that shows my movies. for example, when Dylan Pudiak came on the program, he brought some films, and you edited the material into the interview, and quite frankly, the finished product, or almost finished product, was excellent. It was a great piece showing off what Dylan had created. It would have been an excellent resume item, but well, again, kind of getting ahead. The trouble was at first was tracking down guests.
Yeah, that's right.
The actual studio experience when we did get to RETN. Working with it was Jim.
Jim Hollinger.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I thought Jim was pretty open to the idea of us being there, and we didn't take it overly serious. And he had one studio assistant
Who was there for 2 of the episodes.
and she did a great job framing. She was actually the producer of a really good documentary that she gave me a copy of. Don't ask me the title.
I won't. I would ask you though, if you run into her again before you leave, can you get her name and contact info, because we could probably try to reconnect with her at some point if you're back up here and try to do another TV stint.
Sure. Yeah. I still have a copy of the DVD, and her name is as executive producer is on there. Really good about the peak oil. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, the studio experience was fun. There were a lot of lighthearted moments, like the old whiteboard writing information and hurling it. Maybe Nate can kind of tell that story, but
yeah, pretty much what happened with that was we'd had the techie, I call her, in the studio, and she'd written something because we had just done the dance sequence that you see in Losing Control, and we had done the dance sequence, and I had gone and hyperextended my knee, so I was in a great deal of pain and stuff, and she wrote on the whiteboard, Nate is the Lord of the Dance. Smiley face. So I had said, give me that, and she went, no, and erased it as I walked off camera to go grab it, so all you're hearing is the audio of me yelling, give me that. Which, now that I think about it, sounded horribly wrong.
it works so well.
And Sarah Mel decided, because she was the guest, that she was going to try to hijack the show at that point. And then I went back on with the whiteboard, rewrote the stuff, held it up for people to see. And then I believe it was, she did zoom in so we could see what I was holding up. And then on the cut out to the wider shot, I went and threw the whiteboard off the screen at her.
Well, not at her, but in her general direction.
Right, that's true. She was standing behind a camera, and I chucked it over to the side where she had just been standing.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was close enough. So,
yeah.
She got the message.
Yeah. In more the wrong way.
So no. There were a lot of lighthearted moments. We brought Jim on to interview him. He was very nervous, did not want to appear on the screen, apparently.
He was like, what the hell are you guys doing? Who's directing this? I'm like, relax.
Being in there directing. And of course, RETN does maybe 1, 2, I don't think they're doing any now, but from time to time they do 1 or 2 stuff in the studio, so it's not really a whole lot, and he winds up directing them, versus VCAM that has a lot of stuff in the studio and has a number of directors.
It dominates it. So really, if we were going to go back, we would have to go back to probably
VCAM.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. Yeah, the studio experience was great. I thought we had a lot of really good material and some that could definitely be tossed. Um, but
And I did most of that in editing.
yeah, exactly. But in the end, we weren't able to air any of the 6 episodes.
And here's why. We got called into, well, I'll start with you. You got called into a meeting with who? And go from there.
I think the initial meeting may have been with Barry.
Snyder, yeah.
And he was just he was inquiring as to what exactly we were doing with the show and how it came to pass that I was kind of filling Alan's role and who made that decision. I kind of explained the basic details that Alan kind of passed the baton, and even though the concept of the show was well known to everyone who had paid attention to the previous season, season 1, I still had to kind of explain what was going on there.
Which is odd because that guy signed off on it in the first place.
And explain what was going on in season 2. And the meeting ended, and I remember I talked to Nate that day, and I said I was being rather vague because I didn't want to sound too concerned, but I remember saying, Nate, we may have a problem. And I didn't, and you were like, well, you were asking, well, what exactly was said? And I said, maybe you should wait till you talk to someone.
Right. Well, you had said go find Barry post haste, and I had said to you, what exactly was said, and you said, well, I can't really get into specifics, but it's about Bird to College Presents. And I said, what did you say? Because I need to know going into that. And you said, well, here's a small portion of what I said, trying to give me general terms. And I said, don't assume that these guys are on your side because I'm connected to the show. They're going to screw us over. And sure enough, but that's getting into the story once again. So at that point, I think I talked to you, Casey, and you and I are going to be editing the thing. And we'd set up a few edit times and whatnot. So we were continuing to go ahead with that stuff while we were waiting because Barry was very unresponsive for a week and a half. And then he finally got around to meeting with me. And he had asked me similar questions to, I guess, what he had said to you. And I had said pretty much the same thing that I assumed that you had said. And I said, I cleared it with him. I cleared it with Art and stuff beforehand, so there shouldn't have been a problem. And they said, well, we need you to suspend activity on it. I said, well, we don't have anything else planned right now. We're editing what we have. And they said, well, we need you to suspend all activity. I said, well, it doesn't make any sense for me to stop editing stuff because this stuff can potentially get wrapped up. Well, you guys figure out whatever the issue is that's inside your heads because we don't have an issue with it.
And I never really thought,
And then that was when you and I had to go into a meeting.
I think there was a point prior to the meeting that you and I went to collectively where some of the footage was requested to be reviewed. I think we later found out that no one ever watched the footage that we provided. We provided a disc, I believe it was of Dylan, maybe, or kind of a rough cut of Dylan's episode, and we found out later that no one ever watched it.
Well, that was more...
Even though it was only after all, or as a rough cut, what would you estimate? 40 minutes, no one ended up watching it. So...
well, that was at the point when they were, hadn't fully been canceled. They were more or less saying that they wanted a staff member, film faculty person to look at stuff.
That's true.
And basically probably also hinting at although the school never really said that they have a rule about having to have a staff member or film faculty person being the producer as well.
Well, no, they did later say that, but that's the story. So at that point, they had at least established that they felt that we needed oversight because we were not capable of doing this ourselves, which is number one, insulting to begin with, but number two, it was also a bullshit reason to get us in to can us, which I believe wholeheartedly that this was a setup of sorts, and I'm saying that purely on a speculative manner. I have no way that I can prove that, but circumstances would be hard pressed to prove otherwise. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I would say that the fear, it was an irrational fear that something was going to be said on the program that was going to negatively impact the college.
Right.
When in reality, and we continue to make this point over and over again, including in the second meeting, that if you watch the footage, you will not see anything that shines or points a negative light on the school. It does not exist. It's not in the footage, not in the rough footage, certainly not in the edited footage. There's nothing there, but no one was willing to go to that step and actually watch what we had filmed.
Right.
It was assuming that we had said something inflammatory because I think it was directed at us as students in particular. The assumption was that something inflammatory would be said or had been said with zero proof.
Well, it was also made because at the time, somebody from my support system outside of the school had just threatened the school with legal action about violating my civil rights. So they just furthered that argument by continuing to do it via canceling the show unjustly and without cause and without proper investigation into what they were making accusations about. But that said, the accusations that were made, again, as Mike just said, were false. I myself recognize that I have my legal issues with the school, but I also recognize the manner to be professional on that show and not say anything that slammed the school in any way, shape, or form. So I would carefully dance around the areas where I felt like I wanted to haul off and say something.
Yeah, in fact, I remember we never had a script, but we had a list of some questions to ask, and we intentionally avoided any questions that maybe appeared on the question sheet before the show, and eliminated kind of the ones that may have been in a gray area related to the school. So we were really careful. We did a better editing job of our own material than anyone on the staff could have. But again, there was this irrational fear that something would be said or had been said. But no one bothered to follow through and actually look at what we had produced.
That's
so
right.
So there was no facts. Again, irrational fear, not irrational fear.
Right.
Exactly. So bottom line is that there's this irrational fear that something had been said would be said, when in reality there was nothing slanderous at all.
And since slander is the wrong term entirely, it's
well,
even more permanent.
no verbal attacks at all.
So there's nothing libelous.
Nothing libelous.
The legal dictionary.
Yeah, nothing libelous on there. And if they looked at that, they would have realized there was nothing libelous.
Exactly. And in the end, I think the worst part about the episode, which the whole Burlington College Presents episode, not an individual episode, the whole episode involving us and Burlington College Presents, is that it was such a great forum with a lot of potential, again, to benefit the school and the students.
And it could have been used as promotional material for the school besides, if they had taken the time to watch the damn show instead of deciding to insensibly argue that they were right without a shred of evidence.
Yeah, so I guess kind of to wrap it up, what happened in the end was that they put the show on a, quote, permanent hiatus and said that it could, well, they called it temporary and said that it could be brought back, but in reality they had no plans to assign a staff member to do the work that they wanted, which was to provide oversight. No staff member would step up, so not only was it on this temporary hiatus, there was no chance of it coming back, so it was permanent.
Well, let's say what that thing was that they were looking for, so that they understand why that nobody wanted to do it, and that's that they were looking for round the clock, working on it like what we were doing. Like, when we weren't doing homework stuff, we were meeting, and even if we weren't talking directly about the show, it would inevitably come up in passing at some point during the conversation. But a lot of that was just kind of like gleaming ideas from things that we were talking about and stuff, and that's where I would go and write up questions or write up ideas about, who to get for things. And I would go and do that, and then I'd go back, check with Mike, and say, what about this, what about that, or whatever. And I thought those were kind of fun.
Yes.
But then the school said, the college, said that they wanted somebody looking at our notes, all of our notes. They wanted, even the ones we threw away, they wanted people writing a script with us, which they couldn't comprehend that a show would possibly go on air without a script. They were insistent that somebody has to be there as a staff member watching the show being taped to make sure that we don't say anything. Well, what's the difference? It's not going to make it in the tape if we did. It's the tape that would go on air. I know enough to do judicial cutting in that regard. Yes, I'm spiteful now, but at the time, even as spiteful as I wasn't stupid. Again, professionalism, you don't do that. So the point of that, combined with the other 3 points, just kind of made it that damn impossible that somebody would want to give up that much time, plus then having to sit with us while we edit everything to make sure that we don't leave anything in of this non-existent fear that would then non-existently make it on air.
Yes.
So, this was just a lovely setup for fail. And as Mike said, they said, it's a temporary hiatus and you can get it back. Maybe. We have to review stuff, and that's where we wound up in a meeting, and without giving away all the details, because I don't think we need to bore them to death with the details.
No.
It was a 3 or 4 bullet point redundancy on, and go watch the footage. Well, we don't have time. Tell us what the footage is. Go watch the footage.
Right.
And the other 2 points were that we needed the oversight, which I just stated with the under bullet points of that, and the fact that we needed to halt anything that we were doing currently on it at that point. And then it became, you need 20 signatures to get this thing back. And we got, 35, 40 collectively?
Yeah, Casey
Get the most of it.
So
step up to the plate, sir.
Exactly.
Okay.
You got more signatures than Nate and I combined. What was your secret?
What was my secret?
Lying.
No.
What did you do? Give them candy?
No.
Oh, so what, well, I don't want to know what else you have.
No, I simply just, found people,
Wait, you didn't offer them spaghetti dinners, did you?
No, I just found.
Oh, good, because I don't want to call you a
people.
prostitute.
I found people, explained, why I was looking for their signature, and and using and just and being as persuasive as possible. I mean, I had to delve back into my public speaking skills and.
Well,
through explanation and some persuasiveness, but more explanation.
Whatever you did worked, because we had the signatures that they needed and then some. I don't remember it. I think the final days of the program were. It was after they set up these impossible requirements that could not be fulfilled. I think maybe the three of us met and decided that it just was not going to happen and it wasn't worth our time anymore
Well, I mean, we tried to do it as much as getting the signatures, and then it was, they then said to us, well, you need more signatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I said, that's horseshit. You just told me that I needed 20 signatures to get it going. And they said, well, all those people have to be willing to appear on the show. I said, that wasn't part of the original agreement either.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not sticking to to what you said. You're bullshitting me. Don't do that. And that's when Sarah Mill said to me, it's over, it's dead. I said, fine, I need two things from you. One, I need you to write the truth to Jim Ollinger in an email, and I'll alert him that there's one coming from you saying exactly why we're not going to be able to put anything on air. But I need you to tell the truth in it. Mm-hmm. That means you're not playing the numbers game, which is what you just tried to do. You're not going to do any, sweetening of the facts. Just say it as it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's all I asked of her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she didn't even fucking follow through on that.
Yeah.
She went and she sent him a sweetened version of it and played the numbers game. Which was horseshit.
Right.
So I called her the carpet on it, as did Casey.
Mm-hmm.
And I got flack for it, including being told that I could not utilize the Director of Student Services office ever again for anything. Which is one of the biggest discriminations that they did. Mm-hmm. And that's about as far as I'm going to get into that, because it's better talked in another podcast. But so that was our hellish experience on Burlington College Presents.
And then we said, well, it's not worth it. With Burlington College Presents, we had to my recollection, although it was short-lived, we had a idea of coming up with something completely different.
It shifted after Burlington College Presents. I think... I'm not sure if I was told or if Nate was told that just about anything we did would have to be viewed, even if we were doing it outside the college. If we were putting anything on RETN, which is public access, which is open to every member of the community, we were told anything that we came up with, be it a sitcom or a variety show or a talk show that was not related to the college, would still have to be monitored.
Mm-hmm. And that was from our legal dictionary, Hess.
Yeah, so and
for the record, we call him the legal dictionary because he botched legal terms in that second meeting. Even I, having, I'll say this, and this may make it onto the podcast, I
having taken many law courses both at the college and at the University of Cincinnati, knew exactly when a botched legal term was used. And especially in a demonstrative way, to make a point, when you use the wrong term, you kind of lose the point.
So, and your credibility.
And your credibility, exactly.
Right.
Which is kind of what happened to Hess.
Not to mention, it's ridiculous in the first place to say that they're going to have to look at something even though it's not related to the school, even though the school's not mentioned at all. It's something that's
Well, then there's that, but not only that, but at the same time as they were telling me that, they were trying to get me to use all the footage that was shot to put it on air under a different title, even though I was told that anything that was done with that footage or any other footage that I would have on TV would have to go through that. And it's like, that's horseshit. Like, you have no legal grounds to stand on for that. And I said that to Hess because, he's not going to believe it until somebody calls him on the bullshit. So that's what part of my French happened. So, call a spade a spade. Cut through the bullshit. That's my job. So, that's what I did. So, that leads us to what the next project was, which was Losing Control. Now,
yes.
You've heard the majority of our funny stuff on the special features, if you've seen them, and or in the movie. There's one scene that remains in the vault and will never be seen.
We all know what that one was.
Yes, let's discuss that and get that out there, because we can talk about it without showing it.
Take the key and open the vault. Or maybe this is a combination lock. Someone lose the combination.
That's what she said.
Yeah, the sequence that has been lost. Well, actually, its location is known. It just will not be released to the general public.
Not even after I'm dead, so forget about that.
It's a sequence where the three of us were required in the film to sing. And I had a Sinatra piece. It was a
very good year.
Very good year.
Very good year. Yeah.
Nate had.
I had a song called When You Wish Upon a Star, or Wishing Upon a Star, from Pinocchio, 1940, sung by Jiminy Cricket, with vocals by some famous person I'm forgetting off the top of my head. Clearly that famous actor remembers. So Casey, what was yours?
And mine was American Pie.
Why?
The original.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a few others, but it's the original. Don McLean.
Right.
American Pie. For those of you, I'm not going to assume that most people know that song, although shame on if you don't.
Most people.
Yeah, if you don't, the refrain talking it is, "Bye bye, Miss American Pie, drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry, and them good old boys drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this will be the day that I die."
Yeah, and it's in reference to the plane crash that killed Buddy Holly and
Big Bopper.
The Big Bopper and Richie Valens and.
Yes. So that was the songs that we had to sing, and then we had one as a group called That's Life, which was again Frank Sinatra. Now we had tried to, when we did it, Casey would have you believe that I gave him the direction of sing as off-key as possible. However, the truth remains, I was not smashed enough to have said that.
We were smashed, but not enough to say that.
Yeah, no. What was said was something more along the lines of, I want you to sound like a drunk person, but make it as good as you can, and remember to pause for the music riffs so that we can do proper syncing up of sound. Now, I can tell you as an editor, I had to do minimal work on the Sinatra piece to get a usable chunk out of it, and I still wound up cutting in 2 choruses, but it still worked with the chorus that I had. And it was perfectly sung. So it looked like Sinatra was actually singing in that regard.
It looked like he was singing. It didn't sound like him, but it looked it.
Well, no, it looked like it after I'd sunk the sound and removed your audio.
Once my voice was gone, it was perfect.
Yeah. And same thing with my voice with Jiminy Cricket for a chorus. Now, when we got to Casey's footage,
Good.
no editing, speeding up or slowing down to the song, adding or subtracting music, or cutaways could make even a stanza work.
Yeah. Just overall, if anyone if anyone needed to extract information from another person, all they would have to do is strap them somewhere where they can't escape and play that entire singing sequence. And this is not just Casey. It's not just Casey. Play the entire sequence from when I begin singing to when Casey finishes, and that person will spill their guts and ask for their brains to be spilled as well.
Well, to be fair, the original scene would have run 15 minutes if we had done the entire songs.
So instead of being tortured for, 8 minutes, let's extend it for 15. So you really suffer.
Well, no, you want to hear how bad it is? After I cut it down, it turned out to be 4 minutes and 58 seconds. So 5 minutes, let's say. So 5 minutes or 15 minutes. Either way, somebody's going to wind up sparring their guts.
Yeah, exactly. Forget about waterboarding. This is the new waterboarding. Playing this sequence from losing control over and over again. Actually, to be honest, it would take just a single viewing and you'd get all the information you needed. It was really that bad.
Yeah, this would have been like, hey, you know that song, Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini?
Yes.
You remember the scene in 1, 2, 3 where they're torturing Crazy Otto, who's married to the daughter of the Coca-Cola president, and James Cagney has to go try to get him out because he's under questioning for being a traitor to the Communist Party in Moscow, Russia. And they play that thing as a way of torturing him, so that later on he starts singing it in Cagney's office when he's passed out, and Cagney tries to hit him with a grapefruit. That would have been a good replacement for that song. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that sequence is rightfully locked away.
Yeah. So, now you've heard about the long lost sequence that you will never see. Hopefully that should suffice. The next point that I have is, so we did all those things. We did the movie. The movie went well. We shot the retrospectives. That went well. There was one scene during that movie though that it is not talked about, except for a couple of lines in one of the special features. Do you remember the one I'm talking about? I'll give you a hint: missing audio.
Oh, yes. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
you ready to reveal the one outtake that we had during that we didn't get audio for? Yeah. Yeah, no, I had to pretend like I was throwing up and I had my head over the bowl and oh boy, it was awful smelling. Somebody had just used it.
Suffering for your art.
Yeah, so I was inhaling somebody else's anal fumes.
Oh, wow.
And,
So it's really method acting.
yeah. Yeah, I should have done best supporting actor in my own life story. But I went and suffered through it, but I couldn't make it a take without gagging that particular time. And literally, we saw the person leave 20 minutes before we tried to go in to shoot the sequence. And Mike will attest to this. I was gagging left and right. And Casey was laughing too much while he setting up the camera to attest to it, but I'm sure he'll agree.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, he knows it's it. So I went and again, I had my head in the bowl and I was gagging. So Mike says, "Here, let me help with that." Now Casey's rolling the entire time, even though I'd say cut, cut, cut. And so we look and we see the soap dispenser on the counter near the sink in the little bathroom that looks like a stall for a horse with less space.
Yes, a lot.
Or a broom closet.
Yeah, it was a broom closet.
Yeah. No windows, no nothing. Big fire hazard. Anybody in there that doesn't smell smoke, they're screwed.
That's right.
So, anyway, this was the bathroom that we were working in. And so we found the soap dispenser. So Mike went and squirted in the soap into the toilet. Now, what typically happens when you squirt soap is it comes out in a little blotch, right?
Yes.
Okay, and soap is usually white unless otherwise colored, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so when I say that a white circle formed at the top of the bowl where you squirted it in, it was the last drop of soap, mind you, and the rest of the soap formed a line going all the way down to the porcelain at the bottom of the bowl. Anybody get a visual yet?
Yeah,
so,
I made it worse.
Yeah, well then you'll appreciate it when you looked at it and went, "That don't look right." And I said, "Yeah, Maxwell House," and you went, "Maxwell House?" I said, "Yeah, it's good till the last drop."
Oh.
And you and I can be visibly seen throwing ourselves all over the bathroom laughing at that remark because of how silly it was.
Let me ask you,
Yes.
what happened to the audio for that?
I think you're better off asking this standing Lebanese gentleman over here. Tell me, Abu, what happened? Go ahead. Tell the folks what happened to it.
With the audio?
Yeah.
There was
no audio.
There was nothing to tell. There's no audio.
There's audio. Well, there was audio difficulties.
Yeah,
Audio
that's true.
difficulties. Is that what you call a hiss that's louder than the snake in the grass next to the house?
Because I kept seeing the levels going, so I didn't, but then, to not get anything, it's like, what?
No. Of course, we didn't discover that we had shot this entire sequence without audio.
Now, see, it would have been bad, but when we had discovered it, we had wasted 65 minutes without audio.
Right.
Right.
No, it was...
So you can imagine my day of editing when I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a major gaff, and I remember you saying, "Mike, we have to refilm a sequence." No, we don't. I am not refilming anything else. I am finished. And then you said, "We don't have any audio." So,
You
And
don't want
you
the
were like, what the hell happened
you
here?
don't want the masses to see something without audio.
Not usually.
Well, that does happen. I mean, it's not usual, but
Yeah, but most people can afford the microphone.
I have come
that
across a
costs
few videos on YouTube, and I said, "Where the hell's the audio?"
Well, I say that every time I watch somebody's home movies, but
oh, yeah, that I remember being upset that we had to refilm the sequence, especially
you were
because
upset.
it was
What the hell was your problem? My head was in the toilet.
yeah. Well, the
Literally.
problem was it was going to have to go back there, right?
Yeah, the thing that comes to mind for me anyway, I don't know about you listening to it, but yeah, I think Casey will definitely agree when I tell this little anecdote is when I see myself, when I'm watching anyway, with my head in the toilet, the only thing that comes to mind is Austin Powers when he's drowning the guy in the toilet and going, "Who does number 2 work for? Who does number 2 work for?" And he flushes at the end of it. giving the dead man a swirling. So that's kind of what comes to mind every time I see that. That and the stories that you just heard. So that said, yeah. We talked a little bit about it during the shoot in the shed, which is actually coming up next. So you'll hear it. We taped it out of order, but you'll hear it next. And this is kind of just like the latest news with KC. So would you like to kind of fill us in with what some of your latest stuff has been? Like what you've been doing as far as actor studio or whatever.
Actor studio. It's acting
Okay,
class.
so I'm being generous. Acting class, yes.
Yeah, acting class at Diversity Studios, and I'm signed up for the second one of those. And then in the summer, I'm going to do the auditioning workshop. So that's what I've been doing involved with that. And of course, looking for work, teaching RE this semester at church during the 11 o'clock service versus the 9 o'clock service.
RE standing Republican election.
No, religious education.
Oh.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
I thought it was Resident Evil, but
Apocalypse.
And it's much more spiritual. I mean, there is religious aspects to it, but I mean, as compared to like Catholic or something, it's not to that degree.
That we know of, yeah. But so you've been teaching RE, you've been inside the actor studio, and you can hear the monologue or a fragment of it in the next podcast, which you did a great job with, by the way, sir. As we said, and again, where the hell was that when we were doing this? That's going to be my new point. It's the cat shaver, So that brings us, I guess, to wrap up stuff. We have, I guess, a couple of points. Is up next for those of you who will tune in again is Shooting the Bull, or is the title of the episode, because we can't say Shooting the Shit unless we cite Kevin Smith's book and the publishers thereof and Mr. Smith himself. who actually just compiled the best of his Smodcast recordings with Scott Mosier and his wife and whatnot, which it's an excellent book. It's even better listening to the audio. Go download the 100 and plus recordings. I think we're around 160 or so at this point, 165 almost. So go download those. They're great fun to listen to. And all of them are really worth listening to. So if you find anything Kevin Smith, podcast related, video or otherwise, download it, watch it, listen to it, burn it to a disc if you can. It's incredibly fun.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, you will agree that this is somewhere in that realm of fun. Maybe not in the same way, but hopefully still fun for you. So that's the plug for the next episode, and so I guess being that we are recording this on what is our last known hangout for Don Shore at the moment.
Right.
What do we want to say in closing?
Well, it's been great working with the two of you on different projects, and I would venture to say this will not be our last. Even though it may be the last one for a while, I would say that odds are we'll work together again at some point in the future.
All right, Casey.
Yeah, I mean, I had a fun time, working with you both as well, and our paths will probably cross sometime down the road, and
I'll drink to that.
I will as well.
Glug, glug, glug. So, and I really did just have a drink too. That's about it. So, well, they're not in the room. I gotta tell them that shit.
Yeah, they can't see you.
Yeah, not very well anyway.
If you squint really hard,
You may be able to make out a dot. And if you can make out a dot, I suggest you stop drinking. Either that or clean your computer screen.
yes, give it the old spit polish.
Anyway, so I guess for my part, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys, and a pleasure, doing movies with you guys, doing live shows, podcasts now. Hope to God we can do more of it in the future. It's just a matter of when and how, what the logistics are. And as I say, if I'm able to get a show at some point, even if it's local TV and it's a paying gig, I'd like to be able to pull you guys in on it as far as doing the That's What She Said program. That's the only conceivable one I have in my head right now, but I'm open to ideas. And I may come up with a few more on my own, but that's the easiest one to come up with. But I'd like to put you guys in on that stuff. So hopefully, if that were to pass, we could do that. But time will tell. We shall see. And that's what she said. With that, Mike, I guess I extend a thanks for giving me sanity through hellish experiences with television and legal issues with a school. I wish you luck with the move. I know it's a rather large one to do. For the multitude of reasons that you have for doing it. Again, my congrats to you and the wife and your current Earth walking child. On the point of having a new addition to the family.
Thank you.
And I mean, other than the rodents that you'll be moving in with.
Hey, those are called my folks.
Oh, excuse me. That's a joke in case anybody hears it. I'm teasing.
Don't be offended, you schmucks.
You said it, not me.
Oh, Lord.
And now we know where Nathan will be buried. In Mike's basement with cement.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Look at this. He's already digging the hole.
I was planning to dig a hole and jump into it. But maybe you can jump in first.
I don't go that way. That's what she said.
The old shovel to the back of the head is a great motivational tool.
Yeah, so as you move back to...
This from the King of Tools.
Yes, that I am.
As you move back to oral hygiene is optional.
Oh! Look, this is a guy...
Or anything.
Well, at least you're not moving to idiots out wandering around.
Yeah, at least they're not moving to Hell, Michigan, so...
Well, let's put it this way: oral anything is not optional.
Well,
it's mandatory.
You're not, but at least you're not moving to idiots out wandering around or to oral rectal experience given over noodles.
Lord, if we don't get sued. Blasphemy of the state.
Poor Oregon.
Yeah, it's not like Sarah Bell's joke about the Tea Party being teabaggers, but anyways, you can tell that there's a lot more material for podcasting than what we're going to come up with tonight.
Oh, yes.
So, excuse me, with that, thank you, gentlemen, for dropping by and spending well into the night recording stuff. Sorry for keeping you past your curfew, Mike.
Oh, damn it.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be sleeping on the porch.
Of course, Michael here is from Cincinnati. As most of you out there know, at one point, many years ago, a gentleman, or lack thereof now, days with considering the TV work they had done previous to his current show, was mayor of Cincinnati, and that's a guy by the name of Jerry Springer.
That's true. Yeah, you know you're in a rough burg when Jerry Springer has been your mayor.
You might be right, Nick.
That was before my time. I knew Jerry Springer as a local news broadcaster before he...
Oh, I thought you were going to say you knew him as a local broad.
Well, before the Jerry Springer
he was
show...
hiring those on the street corner with personal checks.
And before the current show where he asked people to come on and talk about their baggage.
Yeah, so the baggage meeting the midget
Yeah.
that they see on Sundays and twice on Wednesday.
This is, of course, before one, his show's canceled, and two, they had the people with the false teeth that always put out part of their uppers.
Oh, God. Oh, what a show. Well, speaking of what a show.
Yes, we should wrap up. So, thank you, gentlemen, for stopping by. It's been a pleasure, and let's do this again sometime as soon as we possibly can. So, with that, Nate Taves,
Michael Imholt,
Casey Khoury,
have a night.